I always kept that, mindset that, if you keep going, it'll work. And it did start working, started to get clients. And I probably then, to be honest, I used to do 60 hours PT a week. And that was up around to 2004, 2005, the boom time. I had pretty much nearly every person that had money in Galway used to come to me. I used to have Ferraris, Maseratis, Hummers.
Hello and welcome to our latest episode of Garry Talks. This week I'm delighted to be joined by CEO of Sports Academy, Tom French, who grew a one-on-one personal training business into a strength and conditioning academy and has worked with a huge number of high-performance athletes over the years. Tom is one of those great success stories of a child who left school early but went on to achieve great things in business. He first got into fitness training in his early 20s and eventually moved to Galway 10 years later, where he decided to stop drinking alcohol and focus simply on improving people's health. A journey with multiple twists and turns, but he was loved by the elite. Even when he joined local soccer club Galway United as a strength and conditioning coach, the squad lost 6 stone in 6 weeks under his new training programs. He knows everything about fitness training, but he also knows a lot about business. He has had stories of success and failure, but I think by listening to the following discussion, you'll get to understand how he has constantly been able to remodel his business, move location, and gain new clients by sticking to his vision and core values. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
This is a GK Media podcast.
Tom French, CEO of Sports Academy. Thank you for joining us in GK Media Studios.
Thanks for having me, Garry.
I think we've known each other for about 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, actually more, probably about 15, because I think it was a bit earlier with Galway United, and then I think we met on our paths, and then obviously interview with Merview United was around 2012.
Yeah. Because you have a huge background. That's where I first got to know you, was your background in soccer here in Galway. And we just kept in touch over the years, and you were one of the great supporters for me when I set up GK Media 10 years ago in 2013. You were like, I always say when you're starting out, surround yourself with positive people that build you up and support you. And you were definitely one of them. You were giving me advice. You were giving me loads of books that I should read. You introduced me to this guy I never heard of called Gary V. And that really kind of got me interested in marketing. And funnily enough, I was saying I have to talk to Tom today about books. And what does he do? But he actually brings me in another book to read called Raving Fans, A Revolutionary Approach to Customer Service. Why this book?
I just think in any business, like there is loads of books out there. I don't read as much as I used to, but I have these books lying in the house, so I get past them on if I can. This one for any business is very simple. It's about deciding what you want to do, deciding how you want to do it, who you want to do it with, the way you want to do it, and what you want people to see when they come in the door. And it just gives you some building blocks on how to do it. So I just thought, like, obviously you've developed a lot over the years here, which is fantastic. And I think, everybody, no matter where you are in your path, we all need to be brought back down again and, have a look from the outside and maybe reading a book or going on a course or talking to somebody else in business. I think it's important to do that to obviously help you keep growing, keep developing, keep your mindset, active. So,
because I've always known you as like one who really pushes themselves, one who really innovates and comes up with ideas and embraces a challenge, one who stays very healthy, fit, active, but also one who consumes as much information as they can and is constantly, self-learning and striving and trying new things. That's fair, isn't it?
It's fair, yeah. I'm still learning every day. Every day. I think on that, the more you go into something, I think the less you know. The less once you get yourself deeper into, like I'm actually doing a second master's at the minute in advanced sports performance, and just some areas that, it's really in depth and sometimes out of your depth. And then when you're listening to other people like podcasts, that type of stuff, you're saying, God, I don't really know much at all. I know a lot of bits of stuff, but trying to put everything together, in a simple way for people to understand.
So you've built up successful businesses and you've had to adapt them and reformulate them and stuff over the years with changing markets and ownership and so on. But let's just head back to the early days. So you're from Donegal.
From Lifford, yeah, County Donegal.
And well known for soccer up there.
Yeah, so we grew up in soccer. We played soccer since we went to national school. Myself and my brother played together for many years. All my mates played soccer. I used to wear wellies to school every day and play in pair of wellie boots. But soccer was our background. There was a GA club there, football, and I think when we were around 10, the club folded. And so that was folded around 5 or 6 years. We were sort of nearly pushed to soccer only. And that's where obviously
the GA club folded, is it?
Our local GA club folded, for about 5 or 6 years. I don't know what, obviously nobody took it over, nobody had interest, and it sort of pushed us to soccer more so than the football. Now it's back up and running, which is great, but like we all love soccer there, to be honest, everybody. So we used to, like every chance we had, we played soccer. We have a park outside the house. We used to go out. Your mother used to be calling you every day, come in for your dinner, and you want like get another goal, whatever. Like we just played for the love of it. We didn't play the way it is now. Everybody wants to be a superstar. Everybody wants to go to England. You know, that never even entered our heads at that time. We just loved the game, loved playing, and that was the way I played all throughout my life. You know, it was never about stardom. It was about enjoying the game, and that's the way I think is lost a bit nowadays in it. So I think that hopefully should change again down the line, you know, when everything comes around in cycles. But like there's too many people dropping out now at a young age, so they've lost the love of it because of the push, you know, the winning too early, too soon, too intense, you know, too much training, too much running. Yeah. Sure, we'll go over that in a bit. But
and Shay Given then is from that area as well, isn't he?
Yeah, Shay just lives outside Lifford.
So he's a former international goalkeeper.
He's one of the highest capped Irish players. So Shay's from our town. We played in the same team. He's a few years younger than us. I was in the same class as his brother, Kieran Given. And like we had a really good team, really good players. Obviously Shay was a few years younger, and goalkeeping, you know, at the time they're hard to get goalkeepers. Not many goalkeepers. Not more players outfield. But Shay got the chance to go. Packy Boner obviously brought him to Celtic at the start, and he just went on from there to be playing obviously Newcastle, Man City, Aston Villa. So he's done really well for himself.
And what about yourself then?
My soccer career obviously was mainly Donegal League first. Then I played Ulster Senior League. And then I played the Irish League in the north, Loma Town, for a bit. It's the highest level in the north, if you want to call it. I went to Finn Harps for a little bit, pre-season training and all, but I actually stayed in the north playing. But again, it was never my thing to be a number one. It never really entered my head, to be honest, because I like the crack. Like I used to go out drinking after the games and like everybody else. So I would train hard during the week. I would have been super fit, and I would have worked as well all day, physical job. And I suppose it was just the fun of getting out, playing a game, going drinking with the lads after was more the social aspect of it. And I never really ever thought about going to England, or never even really entered our heads at that time.
You don't drink anymore, do you?
No, I moved to Galway. You know, normally people start drinking when they come to Galway. I moved to Galway in 1999. And I would say I was here... That was late 90s, so it was around September 99. And I think at that Christmas after I went home and I was up with the lads, you know, we were out pretty much about a couple of weeks in a row nearly, and just got a bit sick of it. And so when we came back down to Galway, I said, oh God, I'm sick. I'm going to stay off it for a month or two. And then, so I stayed off it for a month, and then 2 months had gone by, hadn't met the lads. 3 months, I said, I'm going to try and stay off it now for a year. So not that I drank much. I drank at the weekend like everybody else, one day a week or maybe 2 days. It depends. And after 3 or 4 months, I says, yeah, I'll stay off it for the year. Come the year, then I was back home. My brother and all were saying, come on, take a pint now. And I was actually intending to drink, but I just, when he bought me a pint and all, my brother, and when he was handing me, I says, no, I don't want it. I don't know why. I just said, no, I don't want it. And I never took a drink since. And that was in 2000, just 2001 actually, sorry.
Over 20 years ago since you had a drink.
Yeah.
So what did you notice in yourself, or what changed that you went from something you took on a weekly basis to not wanting to touch anymore?
I just think it went with the business as well, because I was always into health and fitness, and like most people them days, you would have had an odd cigarette when you were going drinking, which I did myself as well. And I used to be actually sick. I'm not one of these like to get up in the morning straight away after a drinking session. I would have definitely could have laid in my bed all day and not get up. I could never have drank the second day again like the first day. So I didn't really, I always intended to go off it all through my early 20s even. And obviously, in family situations there, not my own personal family, but relations, aunts, uncles, grandmother, whatever, they've been alcoholics and just didn't want it really, to be honest. And because you're in fitness and health, and then I was trying to promote it, I went out started working for myself in roughly 2002 in Galway. And after that, I says that was it. I never, just didn't feel like doing it again, Didn't miss it. You have the same crack as long as you go at the same time as the lads. If you meet them at 11 o'clock, it might be a different story, but...
So your social life then is more kind of sports related, isn't it?
My social life is minimal enough, to be honest.
Okay.
No, we're actually heading away tomorrow now, myself and my partner, for the weekend. So ours tends to be now going away, we're going to go for a walk up the mountain or up the hill. It tends to be more walking type holiday. Maybe sun, obviously, if we're heading away in the summer. We booked a lovely holiday this year now, thankfully, to Croatia for a couple of weeks. So that'll be mainly lying around for a bit and then traveling around, see what's there, and walking. We'll do a lot of walking.
Yeah, you can't lie in a sun lounger for 6 hours, can you?
I can lie in the sun lounger for 6 minutes.
And then your partner and your ex-partner as well, they're all active and fit as well.
Yeah, so obviously Claudia, my ex-partner, who we built the French Finoli business together, she's active, she's healthy, she doesn't really drink much. And then Charlotte, my fiance, she doesn't drink. She might drink a very rare occasion. And to be quite honest, if you're thinking of for motivation or anything like that, that's the lady. That's the lady keeps me motivated.
Okay.
To be honest, I've never seen anybody with the wool like her. She's up at 6 o'clock every morning. She's in the gym 6 days a week. She just started her own business there last year, dog grooming, which is a serious tough job. If people hand in their dog there and comes back 2 hours later and is polished up, but the work goes into that. It's unreal. I couldn't do it, to be honest. And when I'm feeling lazy, because sometimes people think me, he's always on the go, he's fit. Sometimes I just like to lie down and get away from it and put my feet up. And sometimes I don't even want to go training. Just get up, come on, we're going. So she's my motivation, and she dinner's ready all the time for me. And I don't think, to be honest, I would probably be as active as I am now and as healthy only for her, the way she gives me a good kick.
That's mad, because for me, you've always been the real healthy guy, and you're always encouraging others to get healthy in a nice way. Because even I remember when you started working at Galway United, and the club was doing reasonably well, but they just weren't fit. And you couldn't believe that there was no kind of structure on diet, or, there's no point being out training 3 nights a week and not taking account of what it is you're putting in your mouth.
Exactly.
Every day. And you you just trimmed them up so well and got them so fit over a period of a few months.
Yeah, don't get me wrong about myself, but I've been in it so long that my weight, my body fat has never really changed since I was 20. So
do you know what your body fat is?
It's around between 12 and 13 at the minute.
Wow.
Percent. And to be honest, I keep it around 12 to 14%. I don't think I've really went over 15%, and that's not even, I don't need to do a lot to do it, because obviously my diet is reasonable enough. I don't eat much crap. I do at times like everybody else, but in general, the diet's really good. I eat dinners every day, regular times of eating, pretty much nearly the same breakfast all the time. But for myself, I get away with it more, where some people that have, say, just started resistance training for a few years, they have to work hard, or they had a bit of body fat on before. They work hard and they're looking at me going, you asshole.
Yeah.
But So I know I can get away with it, and I sort of play in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I train 6 days a week at the minute, and I've been doing that for a long time.
That's crazy. But you're not supposed to have rest days because...
It depends. If you're going running every day, you need a rest day. If you're doing resistance training, if you're hitting different muscle groups, you can mix it up. We do yoga as well. Actually, we're on the go 7 days a week. So we do yoga on a Sunday in a fantastic place in Tuam, Pilates and yoga studio with Charlotte as well. Myself and Charlotte go. I'm the only lad in there most days, which you see lads dropping in and out, which is a pity because it is. I'm not mad into yoga or mad into stretching, but it's a social thing for the two of us in the morning to go. Then come home, get the dinner, we go for another walk. Then that's just the way it is. But
it's mad, yeah.
But no, like I think it's important to keep yourself active no matter what happens in life, and it's probably more important to keep yourself strong. To be lifting, doing weights.
Like, do you feel you're fitter and stronger now? You're in your 40s, ain't you?
Thanks very much, Garry. I'm 52.
All right. Okay. Well, there's why we should get fit and active. So are you fit, or we'll say even go back to your mid-40s? Were you fitter in your mid-40s than your mid-30s, do you think?
No. So obviously I've always trained. I started training in the gym when I was 15. So I haven't really missed a week in the gym. Where some people have to train like 5-6 days in the gym, I've never missed. So it's about consistency. I left school when I was 15 and I did painting and decorating and went into a training centre in Saban.
So you did the junior cert, was it? And that was it?
I didn't even do the junior cert.
Okay.
Didn't do any exams whatsoever. But
because we haven't even gotten to your business yet, which has done so well. But to think, you...
Yeah, look, as I say, fitness-wise, I was always fit. So we're always out playing. We're always in the park. And then when I started in the gym, as I say, when I was 15, and I just loved the gym. I didn't overdo it, but I went a couple of nights a week. And then my late teens then, like I was doing labour and brick paving, labouring and carrying. And so you'd be getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you'd be going to work, you'd sometimes drive to Belfast for an hour and a half in the back of a van. Some of the lads used to smoke on it. It used to kill me. Back again. I used to come home, get the dinner, fall asleep for 10 minutes on the sofa, get up, get my bag. Either I was going soccer training or gym. And I used to do that 5-6 days a week and then play games at the weekend. We used to play sometimes because we're on the border town and there's a few different leagues. We used to play in both leagues. Sometimes we played on a Saturday and a Sunday, and we did that for years. And see lads now complaining about playing one game every week or 4 games in 4 weeks, and I'm nodding my head going, what are you talking about? But I just think, that your body can do a lot, and what you get used to, you have to build it up as well, obviously, over time. And if you monitor what you're doing in between, like we're talking about going to the gym 6 days a week, it's not doing the same thing 6 days a week. It's changing either different muscle groups, or you're doing cardio-based stuff, or, it's just, if the programming's right, you can easily do it.
Let's go back to 2001. What were you doing in Galway before you got involved in Go United and Merview United?
I was up at home and I was working in a leisure centre. It was only really part-time. I'd done courses in Dublin in 1992. So I was working labour. Again, we're on a border town. So we were nearly like signing the dole and working in the north, which maybe I shouldn't say here, but can't catch me now. I was just home one day and the radio came on and they were looking for people to join a FOSS course in Dublin, and it was through the FAI. And it was soccer related, it was sports related, so mainly soccer. And you had to be unemployed for 6 months. So obviously I was unemployed for 6 months. Yeah. And so I applied for it, and myself and a few lads from Letterkenny, Athlone, Rathmullen and Donegal. And we applied for it, went down, and that was my first venue into fitness. That we spent a year. We got our FAI level 1. We've done basketball, swimming, we got gym cert, all that type of stuff. Cool. And then I came back, and that was 1992, and I dabbled back into the painting and decorating. I used to have 3 or 4 different jobs, working pub, working amusement arcade, and 3 or 4 things going at a time. I just used to love bringing in money, but I used to give it all back out again. So I went from there, and I got a job in the leisure centre in Strabane, and the manager in there said to me at the time, he said, like, in fairness, like, I do believe this, and I would be like this with all the kids as well. You know, if you're a kid and there's an older adult, and like the words you say to those kids can mean a massive amount. Not even kids, but even people you meet in the street or me talking to you, whatever. That he said to me, he says, I think you're too good for in here. He said, there's bigger things for you. And he says, I'm here 15 years. And he said, I'll probably be here another 15. And, you know, that gave me the bit of thought to say, geez, there's bigger things for me, you know. So I'd say it wasn't even a week. I said, I've got to get out of here. And I decided then I sent about 40 CVs around Ireland. So mainly it was Dublin, Cork, Galway. I sent one to Ballina. But so
God, you were desperate.
I was, because I actually went to Ballina for 6 weeks. But so I sent the CVs around Ireland, about 20 CVs. I got a few interviews in Dublin, but at the time Dublin was expensive and I don't know, I just didn't like the environment. I came to Galway. The Kingfisher was opening, and I had an interview with the lad. It was actually Peter Devaney from Strabane. So he offered me the job. I didn't take it. And I got another interview in Ballina.
Why didn't you take it?
Because I thought the money was too low.
Okay.
So I just didn't. I said no. And the job spec wasn't what I wanted. So, like, because I had been in the fitness for like maybe 7-8 years already from that. So it was like a job starting off or whatever, but I just didn't like what I offered, to be honest. And so I got a job in Ballina, and it was called the Glen Eagles Hotel. I don't know if it was still there. The reason I went there was they were offering me the job. The money was pretty much the same, but what they did offer me was if I did any classes that I would have got €1 or £1 at the time, maybe, per client. So the clients or the members would have paid €1 for the class. And I used to make them €1. So I used to end up having like 10 or 15, 20 people in the class. So I was getting an extra 15, which is a lot then.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I went there for 6 weeks. Now, to be honest, I didn't really like it. I stayed there. They had accommodation at the back of the hotel. I absolutely hated it, to be honest, because...
So the life of living in a hotel is not as luxurious as one would think.
Well, not in the staff quarters, if you want to call it. And as well, at the time, there was smoking, and they used to have a staff room where they were, you know, you had your food. So I refused to eat in it because they were smoking in there, and I just said, no, I'm going to eat out here. What happened then was I was there about 5 weeks, and I got another call from Peter from the Kingfisher. He called me down and offered me more money, and so I took the job then. That was in 1999. So I spent 3 years in the Kingfisher, and I started the boot camps in 1999 in there, and I haven't stopped since then. They're not called boot camp anymore, but the classes are still there. We're still doing that type of group exercise class, and it hasn't stopped since 1999. So obviously, you know, changed over the years. But
so did you see that maybe the gym model wasn't working? More people coming in doing orchestrated, intense, 45 1-hour workouts was more beneficial?
I wouldn't say it's more beneficial, but like at that time, that was our job. We had to do those classes as such. But that model, as I say, has, like, some people aren't motivated enough to go to the gym, or they don't know what they're doing, or, you know, there's too many people in there. They don't like that. They just like going to class. They're in, out. There's, you know, the trainer will motivate them. They get the work done. They don't have to think too much. Just get on with it, in and out, which suits a lot of people. Other people then obviously love going to the gym, love lifting weights, love sitting around on their phone, taking pictures, whatever. You know, everybody has their own flexing muscles.
But I've seen people coming into the gym that I go to, and they'll set up the mobile phone, and they'll start videoing, and they'll do like 3 reps of something, and then they'll just put down the weight, change the setup, go to another corner, video, 3 reps, something, then stop. But if you see the video when they put it up online, you swear they're there all day. They're in and out in 10 minutes.
Look, it's for promotion as well. They're trying to get more likes or, you know, more followers and sell whatever. I'm not into it, to be honest. I've never actually, don't think I've ever taken myself a picture of or a video of myself training in the gym. If you're training people, it's about the people that you're training, not yourself.
So what happened then when you finished up in the Kingfisher?
So at the same time, around 2001, because I had the coaching badges as well, and I met Justin Leary. He was looking for coaches to go into Merv United, and he brought I think maybe 30 coaches at the time in.
Wow.
And sort of revamped it. And so I started training the under 6, under 8s, under 10s, 12, nearly trained all the way through. And so while I was in there for about maybe coaching for a year, just in and out, I decided when I was in the Kingfisher then that I wanted to step out and maybe take a chance on my own. Because to be honest, I don't like taking orders. Not that I don't like taking orders. If things aren't in line with what I think myself, I don't be happy. And I'd rather get out of there. And, instead of upsetting apple tart. So in Merview, they had a couple of change rooms down the back that never really were used, and they had the hall upstairs, small enough, meeting room. And so I had a talk with Declan McDonald, and said, Declan, look, would you fancy renting me out the gym at the bottom? So he says, yeah, no bother. And so they had a small bit of a treadmill and a couple of light weights in there, but so I went in and revamped it. I put in 2 new changing rooms, nice tiles. I used to have aftershave in there, and sprays, deodorants. So
did you have to go and get a loan or something?
Not then. Not at that time, no. I never got a loan. I just started on my own. I had some money or whatever, and I didn't put a lot of equipment in it. And so I just started from there. And Claudia herself at the time as well was doing the Pilates. And we were obviously renting at that time as well. And so what we did, we had a 3-bedroom house, and she had 2 of them for 1-to-1 private PT sessions for Pilates. And I went into Merview and I did classes upstairs. So I started, the boot camps again upstairs in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning,
wow.
A couple in the evenings. And it's funny when I think of that, there's some people in there that had trained with me. I have kids that I actually train their kids now.
Wow.
But yeah, so I just started there, and in fairness, at the time, that was around 2002. The first year was hard enough. I didn't have many clients. I didn't take many with me. Between myself and Claudia, we got by really, to be honest. And then
what was going through your head at the time? You're trying to start up this new business. You've left your full-time job at this stage at the Kingfisher, have you? So isn't it hard to just motivate yourself to keep going and to try and stay positive when?
No, I probably think about 5 years ahead in my head all the time. I sort of see the bigger picture later on, and I know you have to put time and work into something if you want something out of it, or if you want it to grow. It would have been easy for me just to say, if this isn't working, go back and get a job. But I think it was more the thought of going back to get a job and people tell me what to do. And not people tell, as I say, I don't have that problem, but it's, when you're in an industry that you know a good lot about, and there's people telling you stuff that you know is wrong, that I just don't get it. And I can't handle it. So I just have to move on. But I never really had a fear that it was going to work. I always kept that, mindset that, if you keep going, it'll work. And it did start working, started to get clients. And I probably then, to be honest, I used to do 60 hours PT a week. And that was up around to 2004, 2005, the boom time. I had pretty much nearly every person that had money in Galway used to come to me. I used to have Ferraris, Maseratis, Hummers, Beamers.
And why
Porsches.
were they coming to you, do you think?
I don't know. It's like a ripple effect, isn't it? That, if you have a certain niche, certain market, certain area of people that you're looking at, so builders, that builder knows somebody who owns a hotel that owns. So I dealt with pretty much a lot of the people in Galway that had money. And
so, and this is during the heyday of the Celtic Tiger.
This is the heyday.
So they were coming in with big smiles on their faces every day. They had no worries in the world.
No worries in the world. And the money some of the families were paying me, if you think the 3 or 4 in a family, they were paying me €700-800 a week.
Wow.
For one family. That was the model I had at the time.
This isn't when it was quiet for you now.
No, this is busy.
That isn't a quiet period.
That is the quiet period compared to now. No, it's like I used to love it. I used to love the PT, but
And as a personal trainer, do you get frustrated when you're doing the work, but you see that they're not, outside of the session?
that's why I don't do PT anymore.
All right.
One of the big reasons I don't do PT anymore. That and other things, there is other stuff to do. And, I think if I was doing like 20, 30 hours PT a week, I wouldn't be able to look at the outside and, move the business on. So the PT didn't only lasted a few years really at a high level. What happened was, this brings us to Galway United, that I was in Merview coaching all the way through, say, underage, and I got a job. I was asked to go in. There's a lad from Sligo got a job with the Galway United under-21s, and he asked would I come in along with them. So I was in, and when I went in there, started testing them, started programming them, doing what I thought was right at the time.
Was there animosity then, the fact that you went from Merview United to Galway United?
No, none whatsoever. No,
because they're two city clubs, both in the league.
No, there was nothing.
Okay.
Nothing ever with that. In fairness to Declan and everybody in Merview, I got on really well with all those people, and I never had a problem. They never had a problem with me because it was my job, it's my job as a fitness trainer, more so than a coach with Merview United. So I went in as an S&C coach with Galway United under 21s,
So strength and conditioning.
Yeah, not as a coach.
Okay.
So I was in there maybe a month, and obviously Tony Cousins at the time was managing Galway United, and I think he must have seen what I was doing with the 21s, and he thought we should be doing that up here. So I was in about a month with the 21s, and he asked me would I come up to the S&C with them, and so I went there, and I was there then with Tony for I think it was 3 years maybe, and I went from there. So obviously you have your ideas as well, and it was a bit, soccer's like that. You could be in it for a year, you could be in it for 6 months, you could be gone, you could be in it for 3 years. So probably the maximum length of time for anybody might be 5 years in any S&C business or any S&C role in sport. Like 3 to 5 years is your limit, and you need to move on. It's good to move on, and it's good to change. But that's how I got to Galway United.
And then coaching,
yeah. So I'd say I'd been doing my licenses all along. So I'd done my level 1, I'd done my B license, I'd done my A license, and that was all through those years. When I went into Galway United, I wasn't coaching, I was doing S&C. But at that time, because Tony was travelling up and down to Dublin, and Alan Goff was the assistant manager, Alan wouldn't have been in as much. I would have been in double sessions, and I would have done a little bit of training them on the pitch, like, all the ball work and all that type of stuff, but not a lot of coaching, to be honest. And what happened then was, so I spent a year in there. I was pretty much in there 24/7 full time. And I decided because I had the personal training going, and I brought somebody into the personal training at the time, and I thought somebody really good. They were a good trainer, knew everything. And like, my love is sport. So my main passion was always sport. And I sort of see myself, I want to go into the sport.
Yeah.
Not that I wanted to leave PT or anything, but if I wanted to get into Galway United full time, I had to sort of bring somebody in to do my personal training. And within 1 year of going into Galway United full time, I was in Galway United full time. Within 1 year of that and the PT and bringing somebody in, I pretty much lost all the PT business.
Wow.
Pretty much wiped out. So that was bringing us up around to probably 2008, 2009 time. That at that same time, Claudia had been working from home, and she was doing Pilates. She had a single bed of Pilates, and we had built a house then at that boom time as well, when things were sky high. So we built a house, but when we built the house, we done everything downstairs. We didn't even touch upstairs. We didn't even pour the floors upstairs. We had no stairs going up there, but we built a shed and put a gym in the shed. And there was a room at the back where she decided to buy 4 cheap Pilates beds. And so she got 4 Pilates beds, and the classes used to be full. Used to be driving from everywhere out to Turlockmore.
Out to the countryside.
Well, they say the countryside, yeah. Would have been then, far enough for people to drive. But then that started work really well. I said, like, we just said, like, this looks good. Why don't we just open a business? So the idea always for me was to have a business that could run itself. So example, when I went into Galway United, I left something that wasn't sustainable because I wasn't there. So we decided then, like, what I wanted to get back into sport and maybe full time. So we decided that let's buy 8 Pilates beds. So I think it was around 2008, we bought 8 Pilates beds. One of the clients that I had at the time had premises in Ormore. And I said, we'll lease it off him. And so we leased the business, or we leased the premises off him, and we started the Pilates there. And that Pilates, those same beds are still there today since around 2008.
So that was the start of French Finole.
That was the start of French Finole. So another client that I had in the PT, he done, your brochures and leaflets and all that type of stuff. And I just asked him, like, we're looking to come together. So I wanted to bring in this premises then that we were renting. I was doing PT in it still, small classes, small group classes. And with Claudia was doing Pilates, personal training Pilates, and then group Pilates. But we wanted to get a name for the two of us. And so the first thing he said, what's your surnames? I said, French Finole. That's it. So we'd created a brochure, French Finole Life Trainers, and that's where we started. And even in my review, I had the name French Finole on the little side door, still actually there today.
All right.
If you're walking along the side, you see the sign. But that's where it started, and that's how French Finole kicked off.
That's where I met you in the early years as well. And like the business was thriving. You had, Pilates taking place with Claudia. You had physio taking place upstairs. The room then where the training was going on, like it is a massive space. But at the time as well, you were buzzing about this thing that you were doing in Galway that no one else was doing called CrossFit.
Yeah.
Which again, no one had really heard of. I think there might have been a couple of places in the UK doing it, but you kind of latched onto it early on and you were doing CrossFit out of there as well. And like for anyone who doesn't know, CrossFit is just nuts. It's like really, people are powerhouses. It's amazing. Yeah. It's a one hell of a workout. But
so I suppose there was a few things happening between that. We went into a building in Ormore and we moved from that building and we actually ended up with, so I was in with, again, I think Galway United full time, but we moved to a smaller place, and not that it was smaller, but it was a better area for us. It was cheaper and it was easier for us to manage. So that was going really well, and the classes started to do well again then, the group classes. So I decided to get another building in Ormore, same business park. So we had 2,500 building on one side of the street, and we had a 3,000 building on the other side of the street. So Claudia was doing Pilates and that type of stuff, PT. We had, at the time, Curves was out.
Oh, yes.
So I bought a circuit of that type of equipment as well, and had that Curve system type gym where we used to have a bit of a membership in there. We had a spare room on it. So that was happening in one area, and then I was doing classes, boot camps, all that type of stuff in another area. Plus, I had teams coming in and out at different times, for testing and training and programming. So while we were in there, one of our clients that's the area we're in now at the minute is they were training there. So the two daughters were training there and said, look, we've got facilities. My dad was like to talk to you to see if you'd be interested in taking over the facility, which was a massive building. It was it's over 10,000 square feet. And the first day I walked into it, it was just a shell. It wasn't even painted. There was no paint in the wall. I said, geez, what the hell am I even going to do with that?
Yeah.
But when we looked at it and pitting the two buildings we were in, to move into this one building, what it cost is less money. But the only problem was we didn't really have the money to do it up.
Yeah.
So we didn't go and get a loan or anything like that. So what we did is I started, whatever mats I had in the other place, I brought them over. And if you can imagine 6,000 square feet area where I was going to put the gym, we might have had not even 1,000 of that with mats, and the rest was a concrete floor. So we just built it like that. So over the years, when the people that started training with us would have seen it developing, we had no racks. We just had racks that, half racks that sat against the wall. We didn't have a rig. But it just built over time. We started to get more mats, and we got more money, and we bought more stuff.
So this is you nearly going back to how you see it in 5 years' time.
Yeah, always was my idea was a performance center, with teams, and obviously, no matter what company, whether it's sport or fitness, like the biggest sporting companies in the world, the most of their clients are the general public.
Mm-hmm.
So because sports people are there at limited times. A lot of them have their own gyms. If you get to higher level, like say the GA, they have their own facility. So like always, no matter what fitness business, general public tend to be your biggest client. So I always have to look after them. That's the number one for me, always first before anything else.
How are you getting the message out there?
Obviously, word of mouth has always been a big thing. Social media, years ago, we used to put in small ad in the paper. Like we used to have 2 or 3 little blocks in the Galway Advertiser and all. That was really the only thing we did. And then that stopped because obviously it was costing money and couldn't afford it either at the time. So it was just really word of mouth. And that's been it since. We've never, I don't think I've ever advertised in anything else, like paid advertisement. Now, sometimes I'm doing an Easter camp soon, so I've got a paid Facebook, Instagram post that pops up now and again. But anything like that, where we're doing a workshop, a seminar, camp, I would definitely advertise. But in general, the class is not really, just on social media. Okay. And I'm not really good at that either.
And would you have an e-zine or anything, a newsletter going out by email to people?
Every Sunday we have, so our members are on an app. So it's to book into classes. And even people can get in that app that aren't in classes yet, but they could buy them. So I send out a newsletter every Sunday between 6 and 9 o'clock, just to remind them to book into classes, and then maybe a topic of the week, either in relation to exercise, nutrition, or general stuff that's going on in the gym.
Oh, it's very good. Yeah, because I remember you designing this app, and this is going back years ago. This is before COVID, when other kind of gyms and stuff started doing that as a knock-on effect to try and deal with kind of the whole hybrid training type thing happening. So you have this building, you're in this 10,000 square building, you're building it bit by bit, adding on, building your walls, and you're opening up your rooms, bringing in your racks and your extra equipment and so on. So what was it like when it was at its peak? What was going on in there? And what kind of numbers did you have going through it on a weekly basis?
Oh, God. So once we had all the equipment in, we bought a rack, a 12-bay rack. So we had monkey bars going down 20 meters long. It's a massive thing. Spent a fortune for it at the time. But it was built specific. So once that started, we were to go back to the CrossFit. So we had been doing the boot camps, but your boot camp, we wanted to add something new, almost like a challenge or see something. I'd been looking at CrossFit since 2006. Before that, for 5 or 6 years, and I thought it was a bit OT at the start when I seen it, but I could see it was growing. Somebody in Galway had actually started CrossFit.
Okay,
and they were advertising it like for €75 a month, unlimited classes. So I said, right. And they had been doing it for, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 months, and it didn't really work for them. So I said, I'm going to go do the CrossFit. And I went and done the course with Michael Malloy is his name. Myself and Michael went and done the course. He had actually bought the CrossFit domain name at the time, and I was searching who had it. So he had it, and then we decided we'll go and do the course, and I bought it off him, got it off him, and he worked with me for years then in it. So we decided to put the CrossFit in and give it a go, see how it worked. It was intense. It was new.
And what were you charging a month? So
I said, once we start this, we're going to charge €105 a month.
So more than the competition.
€30 more, yeah. So people say, you're crazy. That'll never work. I said, yeah, but sometimes, that was unlimited classes at the time, €105 a month. And if you add it up, it's not a lot per class. Some people go to CrossFit 5-6 days a week. So that's how CrossFit came.
And why did you go in at 105? No, it was like 30% more than your competitor.
Because it's value. Like, I've been around a long time, doing classes a long time. CrossFit is, like, you still do your own program in CrossFit. So I obviously had a lot of experience in classes. CrossFit really wasn't anything new to me, what I was doing before, except the Olympic lifting, the high rep wads, the muscle ups, that type of stuff that looks good in video.
Yeah.
But long term, is not really effective. It's effective for maybe 5% of the people that does it. And I'll give you the reason why.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had CrossFit since 2012. CrossFit is now gone from there. CrossFit Galway is gone. And just recently. So myself and Claudia had parted ways in 2015. So I moved out of there. And so she kept the CrossFit going. And obviously...
And the business was doing really well.
Business was doing really well. I started... So we had the side room, the room we talked about earlier today, that... a bit of side room, and I put 6 racks in it. So I didn't want to disturb the classes. I was always into sport, and I wanted a performance area or work with people in performance.
But just even kind of get clarity on this. I mean, when you separated, you were starting from scratch again in terms of a business.
Yeah. So what I did first was I stayed in the building, and I had a room at the side. We called it the green room. Small room, and at the time I was in with the Galway Hurlers, so I had the Galway Hurlers in as well, in and out there, and then they obviously have their own gym in Lough George and Clanbridge. And when I left the Hurlers after 3 years, I had the Galway Camogie ladies in, so I had a lot of them coming in and a lot of different people coming into me individual, and so this green room started to get really busy. I said, geez, I need to get out of here now. It's time to go. I'm busy. And I took a unit in Ballyban with a 5-year lease. I put a bit of money, whatever money I had into it, to revamp it, do it up. And I had an idea in my head at the time that I thought would work, that it cost €120 a month to join. And you get all your programming, for athletes, and come in many days you want. And I'd say within a year it was gone. Didn't work.
Why not?
Wrong timing, I would say, for one. Wrong location. Traffic was mental up at so I had to then try and...
And did you still... What happens with a 5-year lease then? Do you still have to pay rent for 4 years, or how does that...
Yeah, so obviously I had... you're in a contract for 5 years, and I just went... I tried to keep it going as best as I could, to be honest, and it just wasn't working. I was eating money. I was losing money. I was getting deeper into it, and I obviously went to the lad that owned the building. I says, look, I don't want to, what would I say, do you a bad turn or anything, but I said, look, I have to leave this building, and I can't afford to pay it. I says, you can either come after me for the money or whatever, but I just would have had to liquidate the company that I had. And I said, or I can give you like 3 more months of rent or whatever, and you try and get it back out again. And in fairness to the man, he let me out of it. So he signed me back out of the contract.
All right.
But I was in deep debt then for a while. So, which, I still had the thing in my head, the end goal in my head. I said, I'm still going to find something.
So you've gone again from French Finale, thriving business, making really good money.
Yeah.
To then going out on your own, once you separated, setting up a business, and that going under within a year, and having pumped a lot of money into that. So, that's a huge change in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Confidence-wise, did it affect you?
I'd say, definitely. I think when you get knocked like that, look, Gary, I have a lot of knocks over the years, so I'm not one to lie down and go, I feel sorry for myself. There's no point. I always had a goal in my head. That goal's still in my head, and it's working, and it's going to be there eventually. But I was lucky enough at the time when this was happening that a friend of mine in Turlockmore, Paul Kelly, had a gym at the side of his house. There's a bit of a farm there, sheep farmer. And he had 3-4 racks in it, and it was like an L shape. It wasn't a massive gym. But I would have trained there because I lived around the corner, and I would have trained in with Paul. And so at the time, unfortunately, something happened, Paul, at the time, and he had sort of revamped it a bit. And it ended up then that he asked would I take it over. So this was happening at the exact same time that I was leaving Galway, or had to get out of Galway, out of Ballyban. So I started again from scratch there in which we called it. He had already named it Fit Farm, and in fairness to Paul and the place, it done me wonders. Like, so I started there again. I had boot camps, same thing, early morning. So early morning classes. I had no real lunch. I was doing a bit of PT in the middle, and I was doing classes in the evening. And then I had some teams come to, like Mount Bell used to come to me for S&C, and Turlough were in using the gym at times as well. So that kept me afloat, kept the money sort of coming in, and obviously I was in debt. I had to be paying money back as well.
And did you go back with the model of, €130 unlimited classes per month?
No.
Or did you just park that?
No, so we done the same. Like, I think it was like €60 for 8 classes a month at the time, and like it was 90 classes for unlimited classes or whatever, 4 or 5 classes a week.
So you kind of had to remodel
what it was, yeah.
And was that based on kind of location, clientele?
Clientele, what was going on in other business around the place. So that's the model that I took. And so that was working for, I spent maybe a couple of years there. And at that same time, because obviously myself and Claudia have a beautiful daughter, Simona, and like we're very close. Like we do everything right in relation to Simona. So we're like, get on well in that way. So whatever Claudia says, I agree with, when it comes to that. And
she's an Italian woman. We have to agree. It's
you have no choice.
You have no choice.
So obviously we were always talking every week, during the week or whatever. And she's always talking about the business and more and what was happening. And because she had the Pilates side of it and I used to look after the other side, her energy wasn't in the side of, the CrossFit and the classes. Her energy was in the Pilates. So we made a decision. I said, look, I'll go back. I'll take it back over. Obviously, she put a lot of money back in there and bought stuff. So I had to, rebuy it back or whatever, or that section of it. And so I decided this was happening nearly before COVID. And so it didn't materialize because I started dip my way in and out of it during the COVID period of, you're out of there for 6 or 7 months, nothing happening. And then you're back in for a couple of 2 or 3 months. I was starting back, but it didn't really start until, say, COVID completely finished. But while what COVID was there, I actually revamped the whole place. I went in myself, repainted it, took the racks down, changed the color.
Going back to what you were doing years ago.
Exactly. I love painting. It's very therapeutic. But I just went back and I revamped it, to a way that I thought would work again. And, because I think it went a bit stagnant and it just reinvigorated again. I had started with the CrossFit, but when I left, I had created the business. Actually, it was called Enhanced Performance. But I'm always one for looking up stuff, and I had bought sportsperformance.ie maybe in 2007 or 2008 in a way that I'll use this down the line somewhere. But when I went into Galway, I called the place Enhanced Performance because there was a place in America called Movement Enhanced, and I liked the stuff that they'd done, so we just said Enhanced Performance. But then when I moved back into Oranmore, I called it Sports Academy, because I would have trained a lot of kids. When I was in Fit Farm, I would have, because it's very close to the school in Clare Galway. And when Clare Galway Secondary School was built, they had only like one area. They had no gym or no real sports hall.
And there's like 1,000 pupils in the school.
Around 1,000, yeah. So what happened was, because I knew the girls, and Sarah Donlan was with the hurlers, Lorraine Ryan and all was with Camogie.
And they're teachers there, are they?
They're teachers, and they were in charge of the teams, the hurling football. So they obviously asked, could we bring them over in the mornings? So when they started bringing them over in the morning to train, like 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. So I used to bring them in to that. And from that, even from training those, the school built a new facility, and they have a sports hall, AstroTurf pitch, and gym. But they had nobody to look after. So I actually, since that has been built, maybe just obviously started during COVID. I was only in there like 5-6 weeks, and I started doing classes in there as well. And they obviously closed again, opened again, closed for a short while. That we started training kids in there, and I obviously started renting out the hall, and that's still working the same today.
So you're still doing that as well?
Still doing that, yeah. So we have teams in there, we have kids classes in there, and then we rent out the sports hall and just to clubs and teams for basketball, soccer, volleyball, rugby tots.
And you have the place back again in Oranmore Sports Academy.
And I took fully back over then in Sports Academy just after COVID. And so that was the dilemma then that I had. Sports Academy was always my number one thing in my mind. And I had CrossFit. So I had 2 web pages, 2 Instagrams, and then I was deciding what am I really going to do with it,
Yeah.
So I decided that I was letting CrossFit go. I changed the name of CrossFit to Complete Fitness, and I've added in strength classes, strength and core classes, which is just specific strength. And I took away all the stuff like, we do a lot of Olympic lifting there. It's CrossFit type style, but it's my own programming. But the problem with trying to teach somebody a muscle up or, handstand push-ups, you could go into a class and spend 20 minutes trying to teach somebody a muscle up. And if you're only going to 2 classes a week or 1 class a week, and you come in and you're standing there for 20 minutes, you're not working out.
Yeah.
So rather than, concentrate specifically on the CrossFit model, I just changed it and revamped it and doing stuff now that I know works for people if they come in consistently.
So, I mean, the interesting thing is you've constantly been tweaking and evolving the business over the last 20 years, but also the clientele has been changing as well. I mean, you're going from multi-millionaires coming in, getting one-on-one training, to you working with soccer clubs around Galway, to working with Galway hurling team, working with camogie, working with football, working with small clubs, working with children, like a lot of changes, and then seeing models out there and noticing after a while that they're not working. So changing these well-branded models as well, or programs to make them work. I suppose the reality is you can't come up with a business model and think that'll work forever.
No, I think, just with technology, and I suppose mine's technology, there is technology in my area. But like any business, like people change, if you're training in a place for a year and, you might like a change, something new opened down the road. People chop and change all the time. I had people that's gone for years, come back. I had one lad message me yesterday, I'm back with a big smile, but he hadn't been in there for maybe 7 years. But I haven't changed a lot of what I was doing from the start, because I always trained the teams, the kids, and maybe not to the extent that I do now, because like we have at the minute over 300 kids a week training in our facility. And now that's mainly down to, we linked up with Oranmore Mary. So we have over 200 of their kids had been coming in there the last 20 weeks to 2 10-week blocks, one before Christmas, one after. And they're starting to go on the pitch now in Easter. So this block now will get quieter in that sense. And then I obviously worked with a few other teams, club teams, whatever. And it's just to keep on top of all that and trying to manage, who comes in, time. And obviously I've got staff in Oranmore at the minute. I only have 1 full-time and I've got 3 other part-time that fills in classes for us, and myself full-time. Like only for those staff, I wouldn't be able to do half of what I'm doing at the minute.
Yeah. And can you walk away now like you intended years ago when you went, 15 years ago or whatever, to go United, and then you came back and the whole business was gone? Can you do that now, do you think?
No, because like I was up with Sligo Rovers there for 3 years and I left last year so we're lucky, we've done really well. Like we got into Europe twice within those 3 years. And then I stepped away, say, season 4 last. And I had the opportunity again this year to go back in full time. And to be quite honest, it was my love to get back. It was my number one love. I wanted to get back there and go in. A couple of reasons I didn't was, one, they don't have the infrastructure from what I'm looking for at this stage. The facilities, the testing equipment, the performance related stuff, they don't have it. And 2, then, like I have a relationship Well, that's the number one thing is relationship. Charlotte will kill me now.
Yeah, we'll have to re-edit that.
That's okay. No, but number one obviously is family. Like, we spend time together, and like, if it was my choice, I would have been gone back without thinking about it. And I'm already enough work. Myself and Charlotte talked about it, and like, I'm already doing enough work. You know, if I had to drive up to Sligo 4, 5, 6 days a week, like, I'm even driving alone would be 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And then the time up there, and then got to manage the gym here. And as I say, I have been doing a master's at the minute as well. It will be finished around September. And that company, or that place where I'm doing, it's Longford International College, so it's Longford College. They're heavily involved in, say, Premiership teams in England. So I'm actually getting involved with those as well, with them as well. And I probably down the line will end up maybe doing a bit of tutoring for them, or a bit of lecturing. And we're linking up to use my facility here in Galway as a satellite place to do their practical workshops, seminars, that type of stuff.
Wow.
So, like, with all that, I just decided it's not possible. It's just not possible to go back in full time. And, you know, at the minute, it would take a serious job to get me to go back in full time to a club.
Mm.
You know, they need to have serious infrastructure, and I wouldn't move. I would never move away to England, or, you know, with family here, my daughter's here.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be possible.
So what is the big goal? So
the way the business has been building, it's still a transition yet, because, you know, anything takes years, and it's, I suppose, for people to understand what exactly is Sports Academy. You know, everybody, they see a lot of sports people in there, and we have a lot of kids. We do a lot of running mechanic. You know, we have a lot of stuff going on. But like, a big part of that business as well is the general public. So we run like strength and core classes and complete fitness classes. And like, that would be our core business, say, from January to December every year. And I'd like to concentrate more on that. But it's to get the word out for both, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But long term for Sports Academy is going to be an educational hub for athletes, teams, clubs, coaches, parents in relation to performance. And that'll be through, obviously, webinars, programs online, that stuff that we're working in the background at the minute. So because obviously COVID happened as well, you know, your seminars or your workshops stopped, and you sort of lose, even like this in here is weird for me, to be honest, but, you know, you sort of lose the confidence maybe of getting out and talking to people like that in front of a crowd or front of a group. So now, over the last couple of years since COVID or whatever, I've started to go back out with teams and clubs and started to doing different, you know, running mechanic workshops. I'm going up to Sligo now at the end of the month to do a seminar and for the long-term athlete development of young athletes. And so I want to continue on that area and just obviously keep the business sustainable, keep it growing, keep working. Don't mind working.
Yeah. True.
And spend some quality home time.
Couple of quick fire questions for you. Protein shakes.
What about them?
What are your thoughts on them?
So if protein shake is a supplement, you only need it if you're not getting it in your food. So I think, you know, everybody is looking at everything protein. Now, protein, to be honest, is the most beneficial macronutrient you can take. So between carbohydrate, fat, and protein, like, you would want to be, like, not enough people take enough protein. And this is even for if you're not training. Like, the minimum amount of protein you should be taking every day is like 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. And then if you're training, and depending on the type of training, like, it could be up to 2 grams per kilogram and max up to 2.5 grams per kilogram of body weight.
And like a chicken,
30 grams,
wow,
roughly.
So
if you have 5 chicken breasts for 150 grams of protein. So if you're 75 kgs, you're double it. So my average would be 150 up to 180 grams of protein.
Every day.
So
how do you do that?
Just eat it. Buy the food.
That's expensive, isn't it? That's a lot of money to eat.
It is, yeah, definitely. To be eating well and eating right. You know, if you want,
and that's one. If you want, keep in mind, if you go into certain supermarkets, all the cheap, processed, sugary stuff is down one aisle, and it's
cheap.
It's the cheapest stuff you can get. You try and get something good and healthy, it's costing so much more.
Look, I will say, if you want to eat that type of stuff, eat it. But if you should try and get yourself good quality protein, and that's through chicken, fish, eggs, whatever meat you want, steak. But definitely be trying to, like, minimum 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, because it's for repair, is to help the muscle. And I think if you're hitting your protein targets, your fat and carbohydrates tend to be a bit less, and you don't overindulge as much then. Obviously, it makes you feel fuller. But along with the protein, like, every single person should be doing strength training.
Yeah.
No matter what happens.
Is that more important than cardio?
Oh, definitely. Long term, two of them are beneficial, or really beneficial for the body. But if you think of long term, at the minute, if you think of cancer, stroke, heart attacks, diabetes, strength they're putting on top of all those now for early death. So meaning that if you're not strong, or if you're not keeping strong throughout your years, like, you hump over, your oxygen's less, if you fall, if you get a hip replacement in your 70s or 80s, that they reckon, like, you'll be gone within 2 or 3 years, because you just don't have the strength. So strength training is number one above anything else. Yeah, definitely. No matter what age you are.
Well,
and it's not hard.
No.
People think of strength training like of building muscle, It's not. Obviously, it helps build muscle. Depends what you're doing. But strength training, like, if you've done, ideally you want to be hitting each muscle group in a week. Let's say you're done starting off. If you're only starting off, like, you could do 3 exercises, say, for your chest, 3 sets of say 10 reps, and that's 5 sets of 10 reps. That's 15 sets on that one muscle group. So if you try that, just do that at the start and keep that going. Obviously, the more you're trained, you want to be hitting up around 20 sets per muscle group, and maybe up to 25.
Okay.
That's why people do, different splits in different days.
But is it better to do low reps and a heavy weight?
No, so low weights and heavy, depending on your rest and that type of stuff. So if you want to work in, so you have strength, you have power, and you have hypertrophy.
Hyper what?
Hypertrophy, which is, say, muscle building. So strength is, so if you're looking, say, in the outside world, you see people going to the gym, athletes would do mainly strength training because they need to keep their strength for performance, that type of stuff. General public can do strength training, but the idea is you're working, say, anything from 1 to 5 reps. And the break you'll be getting, so if I go into the gym and I do a squat, if I'm working on strength, I'm going to just say do my 3 reps, but I'm going to take a roughly 3 to 5 minute break. If you're working on power, you're going to do 1, 2, max 3 reps, and I'm going to still rest anything between 3 and 5 reps. The difference between strength and power is strength is maximum amount of weight that I can lift for those 3 reps. Power is speed, so how fast I move a weight. So example, if I have a 100 kg squat and I can get 3 reps out of it, and I try that for power, it's not going to work because it's too slow coming back out. So I need to drop that down, depending on the level of the athlete, could be down to 40% of that 100, so 40 kgs, and get up explosively. And so those 2 athletes would mainly use, and then fatigue or muscle building is you want to fatigue the muscle.
Okay.
So if I fatigue the muscle in strength or power, I won't be able to run tomorrow or won't be able to play a game. Whereas if I want to build muscle like bodybuilders, or want to get, obviously muscle building and strength come together, but if I need to fatigue the muscle, so I want to hit the muscle, I need to fatigue it. And it doesn't matter. So strength doesn't matter, power doesn't matter, endurance doesn't matter. I just need to hit the muscle hard. So if I go in and I lift, let's say that squat again, I go back in and I do 10 reps and I do the weight, whatever it is, let's say 70% of the 1RM, I do 10 reps, short break, anything around 1:30 to 2 minutes break, sometimes even less. And I do 5 sets of that. I might go and do another exercise on it. And I'm looking to fatigue the muscle. When I fatigue the muscle and break it down, it helps grow. Obviously get your protein in. and that will help grow. So that's the difference between strength, power, and that's where a lot of athletes actually get this wrong, that they spend a lot of the time training in hypertrophy and not enough time in strength, say, during season. And they're wondering why they fatigue them when they get into a few weeks of training on the pitch.
And then for one who wants to lose weight?
Hypertrophy.
Okay, wear down the muscles. And then rest, obviously.
Yeah, it doesn't, and obviously diet as well. Diet comes in. But carbs plays an important role as well. You know, if you want to use energy, like glycogen is stored in the muscle, which is your carbs, that's used as energy. So if you're training and like if you're not bringing in enough carbs, your body's trying to keep them carbs as well, you know. But you're better for fat loss, it's about consistency. Number one above anything else. And there is many diets out there. You see, bookshelves are full of them, and everybody's claiming this is the number one diet. You burn more fat here. You burn more fat doing this. You don't burn more fat doing anything. You burn fat as you train, no matter what type of training you're doing. But it's about being consistent and obviously go in a small calorie deficit, and your body will burn the fat over time.
So intermittent fasting, keto, any of them?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. If you train on empty, it doesn't matter.
And there's no magic pill out there either?
None, unfortunately. None whatsoever, no.
So you're probably better off doing maybe 4 20-minute sessions a week than a good 1 hour session a week?
It depends on your time. Like, it depends on what you can afford to do. And
I know, you're making me feel guilty earlier because I was showing you the gym
here, yeah.
Yeah. We have a gym in the building.
Garry, if you actually went out, and a couple of things you could do in that gym. When you come in the morning, you drop your bag and you go in and you spend 15 minutes in there.
15?
50 minutes.
50?
1-5.
Oh, 1-5.
15.
I was getting worried there. Okay, yeah.
15 minutes.
Okay.
And because you're here 5 days a week, is it? Are you? No.
Maybe I should be. 2 or 3.
Are you here 3 days a week?
Yeah, I'd be here on a good week, yeah.
Okay. Hit 2 muscle groups. Pick 15 minutes, take no break. So pick, let's say, 2 exercises or even 3 for one muscle group. Just go from one exercise to the other. Don't take any break. Do 3 or 4 sets of it. You'll feel the muscle burning.
Can I cry?
You can cry all you want. Just get on with it. Go then and do the other muscle group. So let's say 7 minutes each. Whatever time it's done is done. Whatever you've done in that 7 minutes, done. And then when you're sitting in here, let's say during the day, and you have a minute or you're going for a break, just go in and see a ski erg in there and go in and go as fast as you can in that ski erg for 20 to 30 seconds. Just blast it out. You don't need to change. You don't need to get into gear. Just go as fast as you can. Maybe do 1 or 2 sets of that and come back in. It won't take you even 5 minutes. And maybe do that 2 or 3 times. If you do that 3 times a week, you'll end up in pretty good nick. And that's a short space of time.
Wow. What's been the biggest lesson you've learned in business?
The biggest lesson in business. Obviously have a plan. Do the bit of work, research on what you're thinking of. Because sometimes for myself, I just jump into things. And then you're in it for a bit and you down the line, you're going, oh, Jesus, was this the right decision at all?
Yeah.
And then you nearly try and stay with it to keep it going and it doesn't work. Like the business I went into Ballyban.
So not to be afraid to even drop things.
Oh, you have to be able to drop no matter what happens. If I see stuff that isn't working, which still to the day, I've tried stuff. If it's not working, I revamp it. I'm constantly revamping my strength and core classes, constantly revamping the complete fitness classes. Even with athletes, what I thought 10 years ago in training, it's changed. The basics are still the same, but it's more, it's all about recovery and performance. It's number one, recovery. Like, how do you recover? And small doses is more for that type of thing. But just to have a plan and understand where you're going with it.
And what's the best? Because I know you've read hundreds. What is there one business book out there or marketing book that stands out where you're like, God, that's my Bible?
No, I think the first book, I might have give you this book actually. There's 2 books, I suppose. One was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I think that was one, when I read it, I got that from one of the clients I was training. And the lessons in that obviously is, you need to build a business, you need other people in around with you, but you need a system. You need a system in place. And if you don't have a system in place, it's, you're all over the place. It's not going to work. And that's what that does. And then Who Moved My Cheese? It's another small book. It's about mice that, even though you might think you're doing well, like you built your business, you can't rest on it. You got to keep moving. You got to keep going down the tunnel. You got to keep chasing. You got to see what's next. How can I improve? How can I make this better? Like you just can't rest on it. It's like what they said is, I was doing a course there a while back, that these Fortune 500 companies, like average shelf life was 75 years. It's down under 15 years now.
Wow. And
as the rate that we're going, most businesses have a shelf life of maybe under 10 years if they're not on top of it.
Wow.
So you need to obviously...
I'm touching wood now because we're 10 years this year.
I suppose, yeah, I'm 20 years now on my own out. But as I say, you asked that question actually before we started, that, some things just happen, that you fall into a certain industry or you fall into an area or somebody calls you, for work that you weren't expecting. So sometimes that happens as well. But I think once you put yourself out there and you keep consistent with your word, your core values, that it's important to stick with those. And once you stick with those, I don't think you'll ever go too far wrong.
Yeah.
And be honest with people. It's one of the things that I see online, especially now in social media. People are looking for followers and they're massive following, but half the stuff they're talking about is rubbish. I can't personally myself sell somebody something that isn't real. I can't say, you'll lose 6 pounds of body fat in 6 weeks, which is impossible. So I can't, be real. And if you're being real, you'll last long.
Yeah.
Be true to your word. Like, that's one thing.
Excellent. Tom French, thank you so much for joining us in studio on Garry Talks today. And if people want more information about Sports Academy in Oranmore, where there is stuff available both online and classes you can get involved in on the premises, head to sportsacademy.ie.
Just want to mention the two lads actually that they heard I was coming on talking to you. This is Nathan and Braden. That's Charlotte's two lads. Hello lads. I'm always giving them a bit of grief, I'm having a bit of banter, and especially Braden. But just hello to the two lads, and if they're listening, lads, we'll see you soon.
Perfect, Tom. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Garry.
Thanks again to Tom for sharing his story. For more information on Sports Academy, you can head over to his website, sportsacademy.ie. And for any dog lovers out there, his partner Charlotte's dog grooming website is thedogshed.ie. Thank you for listening. As always, you can support the show by telling your friends about Garry Talks, and you can connect with me directly by following Garry Talks on Instagram, LinkedIn and TikTok. Next week is our last episode of Series 3, and I'll be traveling overseas for it, so it's one I'm really looking forward to bringing to you. Have a great week. I'll be back on Friday for a short bonus episode of Business Bites. Take care.